No, come on. Buona domenica. Hello, everyone.
Ciao the world.
Ciao
the world.
If you're watching this on Sunday, hope you're having a great day. Whatever day you're watching, hope you're having a great day. Are you having a good day, Alfred?
Every day on this side of the earth, believe me, is better than the alternative, Eszter.
So what did we have for lunch today? Today's Sunday.
Sunday. Well, as you know, I'm a creature of habit. I do everything right down the book. And Sunday in the wintertime is Salsiccia Day with peppers and onions.
Typical.
Great.
Typical
Yep.
Sunday.
I like the skinny ones. The small ones are much more tastier, less fat. And she makes me the sausage with the peppers and the onions. And we get a nice piece of bread. I have a little on the side, a little bit of formaggio and a little bit of oliva, little olives, and that's my quintessential meal for Sundays.
Okay, let me tell you, we have a very special guest that is going to come on in 1 or 2 minutes. Peter Messina, the king of Crispelli and of the is going to be on with us in just a few minutes. Hey, I want to know, wait a second. Let's say hello to Anna Marie.
Hi, Anna Marie.
Joe, Essie, Joe and Sue. B Green is here. Vivian is here. Who else is here? Let's see. Last week I skipped a few people. B and Dawn. Peter Crispelli, thank you for your donation to you, me and Sicily. Thank you, Jim Ingram. Oh, Alicia. Ciao, buona domenica. Thanks for sharing Sicily with us. My husband and I can't wait to return to see even more of the country and people that have stolen our hearts. We hope you will be back soon.
Okay, before you introduce Pietro, okay, you are Peter, and upon this rock, I'm going to build my church. I've known Peter for 60 years. I've known the Messina family for 60 years. Santo was my boyhood friend. He's a little bit younger than Peter. Peter was always older. And Peter Messina, along with a couple of guys that he used to hang around with, were the guys that when we, the little Sicilian kids, got beat up, they would come and enforce the law. I love Peter Messina like a family, and I've known him. And also over here in Via Grande is his cousin Saro.
And so without
here he is.
Further ado, ciao, Peter.
Buongiorno. Good morning. It's a
turn on your mic.
Being on.
Turn on your mic.
Can you
turn
hear
on
me?
your mic?
Microphone.
Microphone.
Let's wait for him to adjust. Meanwhile, hello from Canada. Lydia Dinotto, buon pomeriggio. Frank Megazzu, ciao tutti. Alessandro Gennaio is here. Peter's going to be working on his mic. In the meantime, why don't we talk about last night? Oh, you just muted yourself again.
Okay.
Oh.
Unmute the mic.
Okay, so let's see if that. Okay, Peter, say a few words.
Can you hear me?
See if it works. Test.
Can you hear me?
All right, why don't you tell what we did last night?
Chi sta facendo? Peter.
Right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you guys, but you can't hear me, right?
No, we're having
No.
a little
All right, a little technical.
Oh, wait a second. All right, Peter, say a few words.
Can you hear me
Peter,
now?
Try one more time.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear him?
Yes.
Okay.
I can hear you now. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. We got it fixed.
Okay.
Okay,
We're all set
great.
now. We fixed it.
Great.
Better late
I'm
than never.
closing in so you can see me and you can hear me. Good morning. It's
Good.
great.
Awesome.
We're all set.
I wish I was there right now. You making sausage? Do you make your own sausage or you buy it?
No, we bought it.
Well, I put it in the bag
okay.
from the grocery shop, Peter. Does that count?
I
know you make it.
Sausages. You just need a funnel to stuff.
Now
the
listen,
kitchen.
before you go on, I would just want to say, every time I post a picture of a Crispelli, people on Facebook, on our You, Me, and Sicily Facebook say, not I love Crispelli, blah, blah, blah. They say, I miss Peter Messina. Not the Italian kitchen. I miss Peter Messina. So in New England, your name and Crispelli go hand in hand. So I want to ask you, Peter, because you're not only a Crispelli man, you had the Italian kitchen, you're a wine expert, you're actually an expert in all things culinary. When and how did your passion for food and wine begin?
Well, as far as the Crispelli, we started at very young. My father in the 50s, when we came from Europe, 2 years later, a few friends got together for the feast and they made Crispellis. And that's how we started. And we used to work, my father used to open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday because we had no license. So he figures City Hall was closed and he can get away with making a couple of Crispellis without paying taxes or anything. So we did that, and then of course I took it over. Then my father gave it to my brother-in-law. That's where the Carusos came in for a short time. And then we took it back in 69 when we got married. Me and Ruth were the solo owners of it. So we had it for about, I would say about 53, 56 years making Crispellis. Of course, then when the city of Lawrence started to go downhill, we started doing catering. But
you want to make the arancino?
And the rice ball, yeah, I remember my father used to buy one of those 15-cent can of and make the ragu sauce. The rice balls they use sort of like a bolognese sauce. You know what I mean, with veggies and anyway, and we kept on. And the thing is, I kept on with my father tradition. The secret of rice ball, there's actually no secret, but whatever you put in, that's what you're going to end up for results. We used to always boil we always used to use any time, like people, like my wife makes excellent, not get off the subject, excellent chicken soup. And everybody said, what's the secret of chicken soup? I said, the secret of chicken soup is chicken. That's the same thing with rice ball. We used to cook our chicken. That's why for years, everybody else used meat. You know, they use, a chuck and they cook it in the sauce and then they put it in. We used to put chicken because when we used to boil our chicken to make the stock for the rice, what are we going to do with all that chicken? So we put it with the sauce. That's why you get the chicken in the sauce. And that's how there's nothing really secret. Go ahead. I'm sorry I'm doing all the talking.
So Peter, no, you are our guest. So, but I want to know that this passion and love for all things culinary, because you know, the Italian kitchen had many other things. And whenever we're talking, you're always telling us what you cooked, what you baked, about your wine. So when did this passion begin?
Well, I tell you the truth. Everybody likes to be fantasized, but when the Sicilians came to the United States, the main goal was to support their family. It's not like today what I like to do, what I don't like to do. They did anything. They worked in the shoe shop. They dug holes, anything. And that's what happened with us. You know, we just got into that because that was bringing the money. It wasn't that my love was for cooking. But then when my father got into construction, and the reason why I got into cooking, I had a next door neighbor, and he says, Pete, he says, they opened up a new school, cooking school at Eszter. You know where that is in Danvers. Yeah. He goes, would you like to go? I says, no. Then he came back the next day. He says, you know what? He says, they got 75 cosmetologists and 75 nurses. I says, what are cosmetologists? He says, hairdressers. I says, okay, let me try it. 150 women and 10 guys. I says, I got to go to that school. So that's how I ended up in the cooking school. And I did very well. I enjoy it because, well, you know, Sicilians, you know what I mean? They're always, you know, we have a little niche as far as our belly. You know, we like to eat. And some people eat because they got to live. We live because we got to eat. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's how I got into food business. And it's also a God gift. You know what I mean? I could create. I mean, I could tell you a story. The dog. I mean, I was doing a wedding one time, and the dog got to the cake. You know what I mean? How I got out of that, and the gas wasn't connected. Now, God give you the gift to, to survive. You know what I mean? And have. But in the same token, I wasn't a great student in school. The teachers sort of felt bad for me. That's why I got, passed one grade to the other. And that's how I got into food. And also, I came out with being progressive. Like I came out with, I don't know if you ever saw my fruit volcano. It was like a volcano. It was made out of styrofoam. And I would pin all fruit. And then I would have an antipasto. If there was a big group, I would use a kid's swimming pool as the dish, fill it up with ice, and then put all the roasted peppers, the finger pepper stuff with anchovies and all of that. Was one of my trademark. And then the other trademark, when I used to use, people eat with their eyes first. It's like picking a woman, you know what I mean? The first thing you know, it's your eyes. You know what I'm talking about? So what would happen is I would try to fancy it up, but the problem is it's fancy, and then you go on your first date and it didn't taste good, then forget about it. Scodadito, right? So that's what happened. And the other thing too is I was gifted. I had a friend of mine, Leone, right? Mark. He's in the mushrooms. So instead of buying marinated mushroom, I make my own. Because I would use them up right away, I wouldn't have to put that much brine or salt to preserve it. So the people can taste the freshmen. I mean, everything like the sausage I used to make myself. I mean, it's not to cut the corners too. Because a lot of time they would put fillers, you know what I'm talking about? And also because they didn't use it right away, they would have to put preservatives. Instead of when you're going to cook it, you're going to cook it the same day, you don't have to put and people will feel good. It's like when I make wine. Yes, I make wine. I don't put preservative, but also I run the risk of the wine going bad. You understand? Don't forget, you're in the country of the wine. Number 2, as far as the world, and most 90% of the wine is drank within the same year, so they don't need preservative.
Right.
Here, right.
Here. All right, let me say a quick hello to some people that are watching with us.
Go ahead. I'm sorry I'm taking over. That's
Jen Peterson is here. Bernie Sapienza is here. Ciao, Bernie. Peter Saluti from New York. Vivian from Tewksbury says, my dad was friends with a wonderful lady named Mary Messina. Peter from New York says, smart guy. He sure is. Lydia Dinoto says, fun story. All right. So there you go. So go ahead and ask the question.
Peter, listen, I've been dying to ask you this question. I know you came in the States, you were 11 years old. You and Ray, Santo, your sister. You're an 11-year-old boy walking up Havel Street on the way to the Holy Rosary School. How did you feel the first year or two when you came over here, uprooted from Via Grande, to come to Lawrence, Massachusetts? How did you feel? How did you adapt? I always wanted to know that.
Well, my years in Sicily were very, very shaky. And it was nobody's fault. It wasn't my parents. That was the time. I was born in 1944. My mother left for United States in the 1950s. So I was left with my brother. And because I wasn't very pleasant. I lived with my aunt, and they couldn't control me. So I had problems in school and everything. So when my mother came back in 1955 and it took us to the United States, I mean, number one, we like to brag, but things weren't, our diet was mostly beans and pasta, you know what I mean, and greens. So when we came to the United States, the first thing was being on a railroad. Never been on a railroad. From Catania to Naples, we traveled by railroad. That was, I mean, the train was like, you know, something like you see in the books. And then of course we got on the boat. The boat was the Christopher Columbus, and the sister boat was Andrea Doria, which sank the following year, 56. I came in 55.
It sunk. The Andrea Doria sunk.
Right, in
Peter,
56.
Peter, were you nervous? Were you excited to come to the United States?
No, because I was I lived in the streets for a long time. So I mean, to me, it was like an adventure. I mean, being you know what I mean. And as a matter of fact, in the boat, most of the immigrants used to be sick, and me and Santo used to go. Of course, we were a third class. I think that the next level would have been the ocean. How far down we were in the ship. We could hear the motor going all the time, and everybody. Most of the immigrants weren't because it was in April. The ocean was a little rough, so they weren't used to that rock back. So most of them were sick, and me and Santa were the only one that spent time at the table. And I used to tell the waiter in Sicilian, "You better bring enough food for 10." Whatever we couldn't eat was sticking in our pocket, and I tell you, and Santo, I took care of my brother, and it was amazing. My brother, we were very close because my mother wasn't there. As a matter of fact, he would never sleep with anybody but me. You know what I mean? And a lot of time I would have to tell him stories. How many stories could I tell him? But it was great. Then we got to the United States. One of the impression I got is when I reached Lawrence, I have never seen a building like the mills that big. And you notice they had, at one time they had a steel fence. If for some reason the war came back, I thought those were concentration camps. You know what I mean? It was.
Yeah.
And that always stuck in my mind. I don't know why. And then we moved in the 3-decker on Prospect Hill. And the other amazing thing was watching the planes at the airport. DC-3 used to fly. I tell you, it was an experience. And then, ice cream and, having meat not at least once a week. My grandmother, when we used to get the meat, they used to say, okay, because there wasn't that quite enough. Not because we were undernourishment, there wasn't, and they say, okay, feed the older people, and then the meat, if we get down to us, we would have some, which we weren't bitter about it. But now, like, we eat meat every meal. That was like, man, this is great. Ice cream. I remember my first banana split. They put it in front of me. I thought it was for everybody. I said, great. They put it in front of me. You know who the hell is going to get there first? And then everybody got one. It was really amazing. It was great. Those were the happy time. And of course, as you know, the family worked in the mill, and we worked any place that we could get a job. As a matter of fact, one of my first job, I worked for Babagallo, the lawyer's father, picking tomatoes. And they dumped us in the farm with the immigrants from either, I don't know, Mexican. We were treated like the Mexican, but I didn't care because we were getting the pay. Anyway, and I'm looking at that field, and I says, we're
having a little bit of.
Can you hear me? Anyway, we're picking tomatoes, and the tomatoes everything's the tomatoes all green. I'm saying, why are we picking green tomatoes? They were using tomatoes for piccalilli. I didn't know what piccalilli was. I said, these Americans are really hot. They're out of it. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Any other questions you want to ask? I'm doing all the talking.
I want to ask you a little bit about, your childhood here in Via Grande. wait, Peter just said, my grandfather was on the last voyage before the Andrea Doria sank. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay. They can hear us just fine.
Good.
Okay. So I want to ask you a little bit about your childhood in Via Grande and the Festival of San Mauro and the Festival of St. Alfio, and what memories you have of growing up here in Sicily.
Well, the feast of San Mauro, which is the 15th, that was like Christmas, because as you know, I live right in the middle of the town, so everything happened in front of my house. So I mean, it was great, because you can get the Crispellis, and by the way, we used to eat the I remember. There was like the crumbs that used to come out. They used to put them in a bag. I mean, nothing went to waste. And they would roast chestnuts, and they would do chickpeas, agalia. That was one of the big things for me. You know what I mean? And the firework, of course, the firework weren't as great as today, but it was like in the Christmas. It started like the people will go to church every night. They have the novenas and the vespers, and then they have what they call a cantata. A cantata, because most
Okay, perfect. Let me just say one thing. I'm sure people can hear me.
Hold on.
Wait a minute, Peter. Let me say this. It's important that our viewers heard your story today, because people think that when the immigrants came over, they came over at the turn of the century. The feelings that you had of coming over here, going on the train, going on the boat, those are feelings from the 1960s and 1950s, Peter. And here it is. You're a young 76 years old. I know you still play racquetball 3 times a week. You could outwork any 45-year-old man I know, that's for sure. But you're really a living memory and a living monument to Sicilian immigrants. I know you make great Crispelli, but I wanted my friends to understand that Peter Messina and Santo Messina and Ray Messina and the entire Messina family, they're a lot more than being Crispelli makers or being whatever they are in life. Ray, I know, was the superintendent at the Rockingham Park. Peter was a serviceman. He was in the service. Success in life from nothing, from Via Grande, nothing. So, Peter, it's my honor today, and I'm sure it's Eszter's honor, but it's my honor and my brother's honor and the Zappala family honor and everybody here in Sicily that I know to have you come on this humble little program telling us about, because you're basically living history. You're living history, Peter.
So,
really,
for sure, I think we should do an entire segment on Peter on a separate show.
Okay,
but I want to ask you a couple of other questions. We still have a little bit of time.
Oh, okay.
We've got people here. Canadian Charlie 64. Good afternoon from Malta. Let's see. Came on the SS Taormina. Says Jim Ingram. All right, I want to ask you, because we speak to Peter quite often, and I heard this interesting story that you said about Christmas, and that you had the bacala, but the regular Christmas meal was eel. And why was that, Peter?
Well, one of the reasons why during the winter is because we didn't have motorboat. Most of the boats and the shores, they went either with the sail or they rolled. So everything had to be preserved. So we had bacala and stocco. Stocco was dehydrated. It was like a piece of log. And what they do is they cut it with a saw and they put it in the water, and they change the water twice a day. And this fish would come alive. Of course, after that, they would dress it. And by dress it means the fish was the main thing. So now you had to have it just like a band. You have to have a company to the trumpet. So you had the potatoes. They put the onions because most Sicilians, they didn't deal with sugar that much. they would use raisins because raisins got the breeze, very, very sweet. And they make a stew. And then, of course, by having it sometime on a Friday, because they used to cook the bread, they baked the bread on a Saturday. By the time Friday came, the bread was hard. So they would put the bread at the bottom and put this on top. You know what I mean? And it was great. And then, of course, the eels, I'd be honest with you, I never ate eels because I wasn't up that class. The eels were the upper class because the eels were caught because the eels spend their time mostly doing the shore, and they were easy to catch. And of course, for some reason, the Naples, they knew how to cook them better than the Sicilians. You know what I mean? Because we didn't. That's all we ate is the scoco or bacalao. And of course, anchovies was very, very important because anchovies were also with the pasta. And then that was a meal that you could take out in the field because don't forget, you work the field 12 months out of the year. You just wrap them up or put them in a container. And it wasn't like today. I mean, today you have plastic. I remember one time there used to be a horse and buggy man selling used bottles, and I mean nothing went to waste. And that was our meal, and we're very happy too. You know what I mean? We didn't, we didn't have the luxury. You know what I'm talking about? We didn't have a right and a left socks. As they got dirty, we changed them from one shoe to the other. You know what I mean? It was great. And the shoes, you know, I mean, everything got repaired. We didn't go, if they needed new soles or new heels. It was a different time. There were happy times and there were sad times. Go ahead,
Okay,
Albert.
Peter, we have to wrap it up. We're having a little bit of time.
Can you hear me? Alfred, are you off the air? You're not moving. Help. Live. Anyway, Alfred, I don't know if you can hear me. I see your picture. You're not moving.
Are we back on? Yeah.
Oops.
There you go.
We're back.
Sorry. Go ahead, Eszter. Any other questions?
Technical. One last one, and then we're going to head down. Let me just see. Glen Canisato, my Sicilian roots were Oregano, Filudi, also the Aeolian Islands. Yeah, Peter, one last question. Probably what is one of your best memories about having the Italian kitchen? And then we'll wrap it up and have you on another time for sure.
Well, the best memory, don't forget being so long. When you're in business, it's not like you're dealing with the food business. You're in contact with people. I mean, and they're not customers. They're a part of your family, and they'll always be part of the family, good or bad. And some of the memory I had an old gentleman that used to come at the store during the feast, and he used to come on a Friday for a Saturday morning order, and he used to order like 20 dozen. And being Sicilian, he used to like to barter. You know how it's Sicilian. So I would we go back and forth, in Italian, Sicilian actually. And anyway, finally, okay. And he used to come every year. That's the only time he used to come during the year. And of course he would. And then 1 year he didn't show up. So for me, it was like something was missing in the feast. And then I found out about 2 months, 3 months later there was.
Okay, Peter, we're having tough time communicating right now.
Okay, brother. Listen, I'll leave you. I did enough talking. I think you guys must be sick.
What does that say?
Okay.
Yeah.
No, Peter, we're having a little bit of technical difficulty, so let's wrap this up right now. We want to thank you so much for having you on. You are a walking history book, and it was such a pleasure. Thank you, everyone on this chat, for being on, and we'll definitely have you on again. Thank you for watching. Make sure you leave us a comment, subscribe to our YouTube, and make sure you go to Facebook, You, Me, and Sicily. And Peter, buona domenica.
Grazie.
I love you, Peter. I love you.
Love.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Peter, love you. I'll be talking to you again, my brother. Okay?
I love you too,
God
brother.
bless you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.